welcome everybody to the Star City Blood Bowl League Round 3 summary. We're just going to dive into what games happened last week, talk a little bit about them, and then go from there. Um, First match we had up was the Iron City Grudge Bears took a 3-0 victory over the Valor Valkyries. Not much happened in that match. It ended in 2 hours right after the slaughter rule went into effect, and it looked like most of the time the team was carried by Carrig Warsmith, who is the Grudge Bears runner, who had 2 of the 3 touchdowns scored. But Thorgrim Trollbane also got a casualty, who was one of the casualty leaders we talked about last week. Um, some pretty good money for the Grudge Bears, kind of mediocre for the Valkyries, but hopefully they're able to bounce back this week. 17 star player points for the Grudge Bears in that match versus the 6 for the Valkyries. So there's that match. Next up, we had a draw, our first 0-0 of the season. This was between the Sinister Storm, which was my Dark Elf team, against Shad's Imperial Nobility. A lot of stuff happened. There was a lot of casualties for the Dark Elves. They were up player numbers into the second half, but a failed one reroll one put the Dark Elves ball carrier at risk, and when the ball came out, it just got very, very difficult to be able to pick it up in time to be able to score. And the Witch Elf trying to go for the score at the very end fell down near the end zone, and that sort of did it. So it's still a good game. Everybody's pretty healthy for the Sinister Storm going into this week. I don't think anybody is out. However, the Silver Strikers ended up, I think, with 3 players that suffered between Hennequin, Mariette, Vincent, and a mercenary lineman. All had injuries that'll keep them out from playing this coming week. So that game, it was 15 star player points for the Sinister Storm and 7 for the Silver Strikers. We also had another draw, a 1-1 tie between Hashut's Chosen and the Royal Family. During that game, Thrackable Skullcrusher did what he does, and he scored a touchdown. But it was also Willow, a skink runner lineman, who was able to score as well to bring it to a 1-1. Doesn't look like any significant injuries. It looks like the Hashut's Chosen had a journeyman that will miss next game, and Sharesh, the Hobgoblin lineman, will also miss next game and probably be replaced by a journeyman. So, and that was a pretty even matchup. 13 star player points for Hashut's Chosen and 11 for the Royal Family. The South Austrian Bullfrogs against the Punching Stunties ended in a 2-0 match. In this one was pretty deadly. There was actually 2 journeyman linemen, or I'm sorry, 1 journeyman lineman in particular, number 19, that actually died twice. Come to find out that the medical unguent couldn't have been used on him, but we know now that the medical unguent is only for miss next game, which is, I think, like 10 to 13, maybe even just 7 to 9 on the casualty dice, so it's a lot crappier than you might think it is. Just something to be mindful for if you're gonna look to take that inducement. T-Bone came out and grabbed another casualty as well. Pig Splatter suffered a Ningling injury, so that's going to hurt the Punching Stunties going into their next matchup. But Nevik, the Hobgoblin lineman, was able to get in a touchdown, and so was Stampede. And Stampede is the newest block centaur for the Punching Stunties. And so that's 18 points, star player points for the Punching Stunties versus the 6 for the South Lustrian Bullfrogs. The next was also a 2-0 match. This was between the MASH and the Green Slime Packers. And in that match, very, very little happened. The only thing that really did happen was Mario Laclaus did what Mario Laclaus does. And he had 2 touchdowns and 1 casualty in the match, and was the only player to get star player points for the MASH. That was a total of 12 star player points versus 6. And that game ended in a 2-0 draw. My favorite Nurgle out there, Typhicus Slop Up, ended up getting the MVP, which I was pretty happy to see. but it was a 2-0 shutout for the MASH this week. Going into the other division, we have the Corpsetown Rough Riders had a draw against the Cave Spring Crash, the Goblin team. In that match right there, Critton, the Ghoul Runner, ended up with a touchdown. Um, but it was a number of goblins that got a few injuries as expected. Um, and it was the Juicer who caused a badly hurt and actually skilled up and was able to grab a skill this week as well. Good money for both teams. I think 75 is I think a high average, and so um, very good money to recover some of those lost players. And that was a total of 13 star player points for the Rough Riders against the 9 for the Cave Spring Crash. We have the Grimmore Mauler Gas against the Shadow Goats, which ended in a 1-1 draw. In this game right here, it looks like Imhotep and I can't even say that. Tutankhamun, a mummy, ended up with a casualty. But Horace Goulman and Balthazar each grabbed a touchdown. Pretty much pretty back to back to each other. Um, I guess it was technically 100 minutes apart, but it was the next two things entered. And since then, they kind of held each other off. And it looks like maybe the Undead tried a last second attempt with a completion here, but was not able to get it. And in that match, did anybody get significantly hurt? Lord Viscera suffered an ingling injury, and Derek Bleeder had a miss next game. So it looks like maybe the Shadow Goats got the worst end of that match. The Grimmore Mauler Gas came away with 14 star player points versus the Shadow Goats 9. Next up, we have the Vermintide against the Stone Cold Stunners. I think everybody was watching this match because it was against the two top division leaders. And I think a few people were surprised at the outcome just because of how bashy the Stone Cold Stunners are. But they stayed true to themselves, and I guess they mainly just stunned people. And there was a lot of inputs in this game. Scudder got a touchdown. Lord Varon then came back and tied it. Skidder went ahead 2-1, and then from then on, it was unable for the Stone Cold Stunners to get the ball in. I think it came down to a dice roll or two in order to grab a tie, but Scudder did end up, their first scoring gutter runner did end up dying during the match, and it looks like, let's see, 1, 2. Looks like the Stunners are going to be out of 2 goats coming in the next round. Good money from both sides, 100K and 90K. The Stunners did go down in a dedicated fan, which will hurt them a little bit moving forward. And it was 17 star player points for the Vermintide and 13 for the, 13 for the Stunners. Yes, 13 for the Stunners. The Rooney Rat Pack and the Hungry Hibernators took place last night. I think a lot of people saw that one, but Maxie the Rat Ogre made his appearance and grabbed up a casualty early in the match. But it looks like Jean Delowers came away with 2 touchdowns, and Johan was able to score back, but in the end, it wasn't enough to come back and tie the game. Sir Radigan grabbed another completion, which will probably put him near the top, if not
And now
second,
here's a word from
maybe
our
in the league,
sponsor.
with passing. But the game ended with 13 star player points for the Rooney Rat Pack, 10 for the Hungry Hibernators, as the Hibernators grab their victory on the season there. And then the last match of the week was the Corndogs against the It's a Pack of Reptiles. And in this match, the Skinks kind of ran away and got up 2-0. Reptar, Lord of Ozone, came away with 3 casualties caused, which was huge. Cornwallis ended up with a miss next game, but also grabbed the MVP. And a Bloodborne Marauder, Beverly Blood Eagle, ended up dying as a result of the match. And this was the largest star player victory or accumulation, I think, in the league, which was 20 points versus the 4 for Corndogs. So let's kind of see where that puts everybody. In the first division, there's still two undefeated teams, which is the Mash and the Punching Stunties. I guess technically a draw is maybe sort of undefeated, but the only teams with three wins is the Mash and the Punching Stunties. They have 14 points and 13 points. And I think right now the Mash has not been scored on. Neither has the Sinister Storm. So in that division, they are playing the best defense currently. Um, Looking at casualties caused right now, the royal family I think is leading casualties in the division with 10. The Punching Stunties have 9 caused. I think right now that is the most caused, it seems like. And as far as casualties suffered, it's the tie between two teams between the South Lustrian Bullfrogs and the Silver Strikers. Each have suffered 14 casualties on the season. And we only have one team so far that's looking for their first draw or win, which is the South Lustrian Bullfrogs. Now looking at Group B, we only have one team here that's undefeated, and that is the Bourbontide, followed with 13 points, followed closely behind by the Cave Spring Crash with 10, and the Stone Cold Stunners with 9. And at this point, I think the Iron City Grudge Bears have scored 7 touchdowns this season. So is the Vermintide. So they're scored for the best, they're tied for the best offensive team so far, which is a surprise being that it's Dwarves. But as far as casualties caused in this division, looks like the Stone Cold Stunners have caused 7, which puts them at the top of this division. And as far as casualties taken, the Corndogs have suffered 8, so they've been beat around the most so far. So kind of that's where our standings sit right now. Looking at the honors, I'll just kind of look at a little bit. Right now, the most valued team is it's a pack of Reptiles, followed by the Mash, the Sinister Storm, and the Mash and the Reptiles are the only two teams right now that are currently sitting over 1,300 team value. So we're still 400,000 away from our cap. And I don't expect us probably to get there, but it'll be close by the end of the season. The K-Spring Crash, still the only team with 7 dedicated fans. The Grimm Mueller Gas ended up with 6. And then there's a number of 5s from there. Currently, the MASH currently have the most skilled up team by almost, not quite double, but quite a bit. They have 107 star player points. Probably most of that is LaClaws. And then we have some returning teams. It looks like coming up close. It does look like the Punching Stunties, as far as experience, are going to start passing some of the returning teams if they keep up the pace they're at. The most scoring team, like I mentioned, is the Vermintide and the Iron City Grudge Bears. There's a number of teams with 6 and 5 followed behind. As far as most casualties caused right now, that sitting on the leaderboard is the royal family. They're the deadliest of the bunch. The Punching Stunties not just one casualty behind. Most injured is actually the Bullfrogs here with 10. And then most deadly, most deaths caused. Currently, the Punching Stunties and the royal family have each caused 2 player deaths. And then as far as most completions, the Silver Strikers and the Rooney Rat Pack each have 4 completions total between their team, followed surprisingly by the Punching Stunties, which have had 3 completions as well. And let's look at the players. As expected, the Patrick Mahomes Award, what we call the highest paid player in the league, is currently Mario LaClaws with 225,000 gold pieces. Thrak Bull Skull Crusher is following behind at 190. As far as most experience is gained this season, Mario LaClaws has gained 19 star player points. Carrig Warsmith has gained 18 star player points, so that's very close. Mario LaClaws is also the highest scorer so far. He's scored 5 touchdowns. Scatter with the Vermintide has scored 4. Carrig Warsmith has also scored 4. And a number of players have scored 3. Most beast so far, we have a 3-way tie between Three players that have scored 4 casualties apiece, which is Thorgrim Trollbane, Krungo, the Chaos Troll for the Stunners, and T-Bone, which is the Enslaved Minotaur for the Punching Stunties. A lot of players are all tied, sitting at 2 injuries taken so far this season. Most MVPs taken is currently 3 players. Jellybean has had 2 MVPs. Seraph Backbreak, the Norse catcher for the Valor Valkyries, has had 2, and Cornwallis has also had 2. Most completions is a tie between 2 players. Vincent with the Silver Strikers has had 4, and the kind of super thrower for the Rooney Rat Pack, Sir Radigan, has had 4 as well. So just kind of looking ahead at the upcoming season here, or upcoming round. We have the Sinister Storm against the Punching Stunties. The Sinister Storm have a number. Their team is entirely healthy right now. They'll have all 11 of their players coming back to play this one, including all their positionals, aside from 1 runner, which they're probably not going to get anyway. And so they did get a number of players skilled up since the last round. They'll end up with 2 Blodge Blitzers, a Blodging Witch Elf, a Dodging Runner, and a Wrestle Lineman. Still have 3 rerolls and an Apothecary to help save somebody from getting hurt. But the team's going to look to try and do its best to stay away from getting punched by the Punching Stunties. Whose team currently has 11 players, but they are missing Pig Splatter, their Block Mighty Blow Bull, which will hurt them a little bit as far as strength goes on the field and really movement, as they lost a potential, up to movement 9 bull. 100,000 in the bank, so they could buy another Hobgoblin or something if they wanted. But I think they're looking to save up for a reroll, if I was to guess. Their entire team's got Block or Juggernaut at this point, so they shouldn't have a lot of blocking turnovers. It's probably going to be turnovers, I would think, from movement to try and catch up to the Stunties, or try and catch up to the Sinister Storm for go for it's and things like that. As the Elves are going to look to play the Elfie game, I'm sure, because I know, because it's me. I would look to probably take out some of the big hitters for the Punching Stunties and just kind of leave them with just the Dwarves and things like that. I'm not really scared of the tackle because I don't plan on getting those guys hit very often. So currently it's 1150 team value against 1280, so there's going to be about 130,000 in inducements for the Punching Stunties, so they'll be able to get something. What could they get? They could get a Bomber, Beric Farblast, could take Fungus, Acorn. That's about it for star players go. Coaching staff. Oh, let me go back here. Could take an extra reroll. Another Apothecary to save somebody so they're healthy for the next week. Those are the ones I always look at, no matter what team I'm playing. Some of the sideline coaches. I don't even know what Mungo Spinecracker does, but there is plenty of inducements. I'm sure they'll get a couple things, a couple kegs, who knows. The winter weather will come into effect, I am hoping, for me, being the Sinister Storm. A lot of those are like -1 movement, making go for it's harder, things like that. So that'll really slug down the Punching Stunties if they end up playing in like cold weather, blizzards, that sort of thing. So there's that match there. I'm going to guess that match is going to end up in a 1-1 draw, is what will happen there. The Grudge Bears will play Hushat's Chosen. That's actually this morning in the mountainous weather. The Grudge Bears have a very skilled up team. Kara Goresmith with the Block Finned, Mighty Blow, Thorgrim, Guard, couple Guarders, Block Wrestle, which is kind of funny. A block wrestle runner. Was that a random? Okay, it was. All right. I was gonna say. Um, and then this is probably a random. No, he picked Finn on purpose. Okay, that's interesting. Probably not what I would have picked, but it's probably useful. Um, and then the Hushut's Chosen has 3 guarders, so a little extra guard. Let's see, they're playing down. They got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're going to have a journeyman. But they do have Thrackbull, which is going to be very tough to bring down. He's got break tackle now, which has him dodging away on 3 pluses. Um, Bull Centaur Blitzer also has block. So it's going to be close. It's going to be a punching match. I think this is one where I do think the Grudge Bears are going to take this one 2-1 is my prediction there. Um, the Bullfrogs against the Valor Valkyries. This is taking place in the primordial rainforest. This is somewhere where the Bullfrogs may be able to nab their first win, I think, as long as they can play the right kind of game. Um, they do have a sidestep jump up catcher. They have a catcher with sneak and get, which isn't very useful. A strip ball lineman is useful. And then a block dauntless blitzer, which is also somewhat useful as long as he's blocking from the ground with jump up very often. Um, I would just make sure as the Bullfrogs go to take advantage of the diving tackle as much as possible. And the Valor Valkyries are a little beat up this week. They're going to be missing an Ulforeigner, which helps the Bullfrogs. They do have Helga, and Helga is going to have Claw's Mighty Blow ready to go. But hopefully it doesn't come into play much if they can stay away from Helga. And then the block dodge catch Norse catcher Seraph Backbreak, I'm going to guess is going to run the ball a lot, but that's where you hit her with the strip ball and get the ball moving around by leaping into the cage. And then there is an armbar Norse Blitzer, which is a random as well. It's good. They're funny. Currently, it looks like a pretty even matchup. Nobody's going to get anything crazy, it looks like. Let's see. Does he have 11? 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10. So he's going to get a lineman for 60K. 6, 7, 8, 9. So he's going to get 2 journeymen for 50K each. So it looks like the Bullfrogs are going to end up with a 30K inducement going into the match, a 30 or 40K. This one right here, I actually think this one is going to come away where the Bullfrogs get their first win, 1-0. Let's see. Next up is the match against the Silver Strikers. The Silver Strikers are pretty beat up. I kind of hate that I did that against Dave's team, but is what it is. Vincent and Hennequin Mariette are both missing this game, but they do have obliging Noble Blitzer, Felix the Ogre Mount. Little John now has guard. Orlette still has block. This team hopefully can keep the Necro pretty stymied where they're not able to get much going on, and that would be, I think, preferred as far as offensively. They're sitting at 945 versus the 1305 mash they have here. So who could they get? Could they get Griff? How much is Griff? 280? 280. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they're at 945. They're going to get another 45, 2 journeymen. So that's 1035 is what they're going to be sitting at. Minus 1305. 270. 270 is what they'll end up with. What should they get? 270. Ooh, I don't know. This is tempting. Griff for 280. That might be worth it. That really might be worth it. I think even if you go with Deep Root or Griff, I'd put 10K into my money to take Deep Root or Griff. probably I'd take Griff. But, you know, knowing Shad and his play style, he might be better off taking Deep Root. Deep Root's only movement 2, but he's got Mighty Blow +2. And so you could really put a hurting on the team. He also has block. Stand firm. I think, oh, I don't know. Griff is so dang good though. 7 movement, strength 4, agility 2 plus, block, dodge, fend, sprint, sure feet. I'd really like to see Griff make an appearance this match. So very possible. I think that's a comparative equal to LaClaw's in what could happen. Um, if Shad just takes regular inducements, I don't think he's gonna maybe make the offset difference likely. So I'm going to say this one's going to be 2-1 with the mash taking the victory. I think that maybe Shaq could come away with a tie if he's able to get an inducement of a star and maybe make a difference. Next up is the Royal Family against the Green Slime Packers. Pretty bashy match. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's going to be 2 skink journeymen for the Royal Family, which have block and guard and um, your typical lizardman stuff against the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. If it was me, I would probably look to hire a new Pestigore. What's wrong with this guy? Missed next game. I would hire another Pestigore with that 85,000 if I was Seth, so that you have 2 competent ball carriers available before starting the game, so you don't have to take as many journeymen. Use these claws as much as you can to take out those lizardmen, knock their armor down to 8 plus, and you know, use your block to your advantage and your disturbing presence and foul appearance. Make sure you're getting them to roll their foul appearance and spreading out your 1070 against 1120. Yeah, it's gonna be close. I think the slime packers will get a couple inducements. I don't think they get anything that's really worth taking. I guess you could take a chainsaw. It's probably not worth it. Yeah, you'd have to get in the 195 to start to get like Glart and some of the ones I would actually consider taking. This one right here, I think just Seth is still new, still learning the game. So I'm going to say the Royal Family is going to take this one 2-1. I think they will get in if they get that extra Pestigore. Probably maybe 2-0 if they don't pick it up because having one ball carrier is not going to be very good. Next up, we have in the other division, the Shadow Goats against the Hungry Hibernators. In the summer weather, the Shadow Goats are a little beat up. They're going to be down a blocker, down a beastman, but they do have a couple guys, Lord Crix and Grog Bloodstool, skilled up right now. I'm sitting very low team value, 985 against very low as well, just 1,000. So it's kind of going to be bare bones on bare bones. Um, if the Chaos can get ahead a little bit on some of the injuries, they might be okay. It looks like there's plenty of money for the Hibernators to replace any of their dead or hurt guys. I don't know if you'd want to get rid of anybody. What did he get? Just missed next game, so probably not. Do they have both their berserkers? Oh, they have none of their berserkers. I'd probably end up buying a berserker just for the jump up and the block. But this game right here, I think it's going to be 2-1. Is my prediction there. Um, this is a good match right here. The Crash against the Bourbontide. The Crash are going to have 1,010 against 13. Oh gosh, he's beat up good. Just 1,000 as well. So a pretty knocked up Skaven team against a pretty bare bones Crash team. The thing that may hurt the Crash here is their ability to get bribes in this match. But they may be able to get 3 still once 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they're going to get at least another 100K. They're going to at least get two bribes. Oh, and they got plenty of money. Plenty of money. So they'll get 3. I'm sure even if they buy it themselves, they'll end up with 3. And so this game right here, I'd like to see some of the inducements for the goblins come out, like the bomber and fungus, and see how they do. Um, but I think what's going to happen in this match is probably it's going to be like 2-1 with the Vermintide coming away, but the Vermintide ain't going to come away very healthy. I think that this is going to be a very hurtful game for them, and it may affect their season moving forward. The Rooney Rat Pack against the Rough Riders. This match right here, the Rat Pack seem to be healthy for the most part. They're missing Anderson, a gutter runner. Um, Nothing super crazy for the skill ups. Um, and double sure hands ghouls, which I'm a little weirded out by. I feel like I would have grabbed block here or wrestle. That's me. Um, I really like Kajel Stitchinson. Brain Rodier still has guard. Tichinzo still has. So he's not skilling up. He does have both werewolves. He does have both white. Silken sheets. That's pretty funny. Choo choo tooth's morsel. All right, 1230 against the 1170. So pretty close to the same. I think this one is going to be a 1-0 win for the Rough Riders. The Reptiles against the Mueller Gas. This match is going to take place in the rainforest. Um, very healthy Lizardman team. Got a Brawler, Croxagore, a couple Blocksaurus. He did take both Chameleons, which is interesting. So 1330 against 1235. So almost 100k inducements for the undead in this match. What could they get? A chainsaw, probably. Acorn, Bryce the Slice. Um, Scroll half height. Might be pretty interesting to see Scroll make an appearance, especially with the accurate loner, all that stuff. He's 3+ passing, 3+ passing, Nerves of Steel. Don't really need him though. I would probably just take, I don't know. You don't need a 5th reroll. I'd probably just take a Mortuary Assistance and let you reroll a Regen just to make it through the match. I don't think you're going to have a ton of trouble, but I think this one is going to be close. I think it's going to be 1-1 draw this week as well. And then the last match of the week is the Stunners against the Corndogs. The Stunners are down a couple Beastmen, which hurts, but they still have all their skilled up guys left. You know, a block, 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 lots of block, lots of mighty blow, extra arms, tacklers against the Corndogs, which only have a single block, lots of frenzy horns. This is going to be a very, very tough match for Eddie. 1130 against 11. And they're actually the least favored team too, based on skills. This one's going to be tough. This one's going to be 3-0. The Stone Cold Stunners over the Corndogs. At the very least, 2-0. That's my guess there. So that's it for this 4th round. You have essentially from today until March 5th to get your games in. And this is really the halfway point of the season. Once this match is complete, we'll be halfway through, and we'll have a better look at what the playoff picture is starting to look like each week after that. But it's still anybody's race. You can get up to 5 points in a single match, and so if you're down at the bottom, you could bump yourself right into playoff contention after just 1 week. So right now, it's still anybody's match. It's not over yet, and so uh, everybody have fun this week playing your matches, and we will talk soon. Thanks.